This is exactly what's so frustrating with Fox News. They're trying to wrap their heads around why voters resonated with Zohran Mamdani, and they get so close to getting it and then completely miss the point.
We should also look at why he does appeal so much to younger generations, my generation and generations younger than me, because he really tapped into a frustration of ours, which particularly I would say on housing, right? If his policies were to be enacted, yes, they'd be a disaster. The only thing that lowers prices is competition. But conservatives have been very bad at pushing that message. They have not pushed a solution at all, really, or actually they haven't even really acknowledged that it's a problem, right? About 45% of millennials don't own homes, and a large share of those people, it's not just that they're late bloomers, it's that they're actually structurally locked out. And yet the conservative message tends to be that millennials are lazy and they buy too many lattes and they buy too much avocado toast. But the fact and the numbers of the matter, that's not true, right? In a lot of areas, prices doubled, wages didn't double. Because homes were 3 or 4 times the median income. Now we're looking at 6 to 10 times the median income in a lot of areas, right? Buying or making coffee at home is not going to be enough to close that gap. And the number one predictor of whether or not a millennial does own a home is family wealth. If it was about hard work, then hard work would be a predictor of that.
They talk about how tariffs are raising prices, how people are struggling, how the cost of living is out of control. The exact problem we've been trying to tell Republicans about all year. Mamdani resonated with voters because he focused on what matters, lowering prices for the people he's representing. This Fox News commentator is right. I mean, it's impossible for millennials to own a home. Housing prices have skyrocketed and wages aren't even close to keeping up. So it's no wonder that young people are exhausted with the current economy. And that's why elected officials like Mamdani are so important, because he's focused on all of us. Meanwhile, you have Trump trying to pretend like the economy is amazing and inflation is fixed and everything is affordable now.
You just have to let Donald Trump drive the car, drive the ship, drive the plane, however you want to call it. Donald Trump is in charge. He understands how to do this, and no one could do it better.
Howard Lutnick says to let Trump drive the car. Trump's been driving for a whole year. How has that been going? His only focus is on corporations and billionaires. Trump has given corporations literally exactly what they've wanted this entire year. Deregulation, tax cuts, tariffs that let them jack up prices. He's basically handed them the keys to the economy and said, go wild. And what'd they do with it? No surprise there, they increased prices. They gave their CEOs massive bonuses while continuing to pay their workers nothing. And the rest of us got squeezed even harder. Meanwhile, you have 60% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck. Grocery prices are through the roof. People can't afford their rent. I mean, none of us can even save up enough to buy a house. And what Fox will never admit, but the rest of us know is true, is that Trump does not care about prices for regular people. He cares about profits for corporations. Every single policy decision that he's made this entire year has been for the benefit of massive corporations and their billionaire CEOs, not the rest of us. And that's the pattern with Trump. He campaigns on lowering prices and then immediately starts governing for his corporate and billionaire friends. Let's look at tax cuts. Those went overwhelmingly to corporations and the wealthy. All of us got nothing. Meanwhile, his golf buddies got millions of dollars in tax breaks. Deregulation. I mean, he removed protections for workers and consumers so that companies could continue to jack up prices and increase profits without any consequences. Or let's look at healthcare. I mean, he's still trying to gut the Affordable Care Act and remove healthcare subsidies that kept healthcare affordable for millions of people. Corporate profit margins are hitting 70-year highs. And at the same time, I mean, I don't have to tell you, real wages have barely budged. So companies are making more money than ever, and workers are making basically the same amount that they made decades ago when you adjust for inflation. But Fox will never admit that, because it would mean admitting that when Trump says he's fighting for you, he's lying.
It's a Democrat town, and they're going to elect a socialist to run the financial capital of the world. I mean, you know, you gave him $300 grand. That's interesting. That's probably the only 300 non-Islamo-Marxist grand that he got. I saw Linda Sarsour today bragging about all the money that's coming from all over the world.
And so I just, for their elections in New York.
You know, look.
And honestly, I think part of the reason he's so powerful is because people are tired of being lectured by men with Rolexes on CNN about affordability.
Okay, I don't even know what Scott is trying to say here. Does he even know? But more importantly, David Hogg's point is exactly right. People don't want lectures about affordability because we know. We know how to budget and we know how to work hard because we've been doing it for our entire lives. If hard work could fix this problem, it would already be fixed. If you could just budget your way into a better life, of course you would have done it by now. The problem isn't that Americans are lazy or financially irresponsible. It's that we have a president who cares more about giving tax cuts to his billionaire buddies and letting corporations price gouge the hell out of us than actually fighting for us. Some numbers. In 1970, the average CEO made about 20 times what their average worker makes. Guess what that number is today? 350 times what their average worker makes. And the federal minimum wage, by the way, is still $7.25 an hour. It hasn't been raised since 2009. It's now 2026. Meanwhile, the cost of housing has increased 400%, healthcare costs have tripled, and college tuition has increased by 1,200%. But Republicans' favorite talking point is about how Americans just need to work harder.
60% of Americans polled by this network told us President Trump makes prices and inflation sound better than they really are. And his approval rating on the economy is now down to 36% in our latest poll. On inflation, approval is even lower at 32%. Don't you need to show that you feel the pain?
Well, Margaret, I think the president's frustrated by the media coverage of what's going on.
This is the polling of average Americans.
Yeah, but I think the average Americans, they are hearing a lot of it from media coverage. The American people don't know how good they have it.
Do you think there is an affordability problem?
Sorry?
You do believe that?
I think the Biden administration created a terrible...
No, but now we're nearly 12 months in. You said the president would own the economy at this point.
The American people don't know how good they have it. I'm sorry, what? Scott Bessent, Trump's Treasury Secretary, just looked at an America where 60% of people are living paycheck to paycheck and said, you don't know how good you have it. That is the fundamental difference between Democrats and Republicans right there. Republicans genuinely believe that if you're struggling, it's because you're not working hard enough. You're not smart enough. You're not doing enough. And those pennies that you have, better be grateful for them. Democrats know that people are working hard. People have always worked hard. The problem isn't the workers. It's a president and a party that spends more time kissing up to donors than caring about regular people. Scott and President Trump don't know what it's like to choose between paying rent and buying groceries. He doesn't know what it's like to skip doctor's appointments because you don't know if you can afford the copay. He doesn't know what it's like to work 2 jobs and still not be able to make ends meet. And when he says Americans don't know how good they have it, it should feel like a slap in the face to every single person watching this. And then of course, when questioned about the cost of living, Scott goes back to the Trump administration's favorite excuse, Biden. How many times are they gonna do this? Trump has been in office for a full year. It is January of a new year. Can Scott come comment here, just down below? How many months does it take before this is finally your fault? When will Trump start to take responsibility for the crumbling economy that he directly created?
That I do want to comment on the new mayor, who was elected by a majority of the population of voters. And when people are like, oh my God, he's talking like a democratic socialist. He is a democratic socialist. He's not lying to you. He ran on this. This is what he said he was going to do. Affordable housing. By the way, right now, there are polls showing majority of Americans want the rich to be taxed now. Majority of Americans want affordability, and it's not just my side of the aisle. And at the end of the day, I hope, whether it's a Democrat or Republican in any city, and whether I live there full time like Los Angeles or some of the time like I do here in New York, that it's successful. We should all hope for success when it comes to the economy and crime, city by city, state by state, and throughout the nation.
Mamdani is a great example of someone coming up with proposals that will actually help all of us. Affordable housing, lower grocery costs, making childcare accessible, taxing the ultra wealthy, common sense policies that will make life better for all of us. And what's interesting is people voted for Trump because they wanted the same thing. Let's not forget Trump campaigned on affordability and bringing prices down. And funnily, he also campaigned on peace. Remember that? When Trump said he's gonna end all wars and focus on America. How is that going? But anyway, the point is Americans across the political spectrum want the same basic things. They want to be able to afford housing. They want healthcare that doesn't bankrupt them. They want good jobs that pay living wages. And they want their kids to be able to afford to go to college. Mamdani promised those things and won. And Mamdani and Democrats actually have a plan to deliver on those promises with real policies. While Trump is too busy, you already know, giving tax breaks to his buddies and corporations that donated to his campaign.
Americans do not care about that. They care about if they can afford their gas and their groceries and their cost of living. And if people don't start focusing on that, then the party that will focus on that the first will be the ones that win.
It really is that simple. Americans don't care about Trump's beef with Canada. They don't want him kidnapping the Venezuelan president. They don't care about his bizarre obsession with buying Greenland. And they definitely don't want his tariff wars or his drama or his latest unhinged 3 a.m. Truth Social post. What they do care about is whether they can afford rent this month. They care about whether their kids can see a doctor when they're sick. They care about whether they'll ever be able to retire or just die literally sitting at their desk. And Democrats get that. Democrats understand that people are working their asses off and deserve to have that hard work rewarded with the ability to buy a house. Meanwhile, Republicans want you to keep working harder and harder and harder until you break. And if you still can't afford groceries or a doctor or a babysitter, that's your fault for not working hard enough. And of course, as Scott said, be grateful for what you have anyway. Democrats are fighting for policies that will make all of our lives better. Raising the minimum wage, making healthcare affordable, capping prescription drug costs, building more housing, making childcare accessible. Republicans are cutting taxes for billionaires and telling you to work harder. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.